So with that, I'm transitioning into the next part of the stage. It will be a panel. It will be on how does AI apply to SDVs. So Frank, you are, I think, moderating our panel. So welcome up, Frank, on stage. A round of applause. Thank you very much. And over to you, Frank.
Thank you. Thank you, and good afternoon to you all. I don't think I need that, but that's okay. So software-defined vehicle, certainly a very well spoken about topic in the industry for the past few years. There's not one major event where it is not spoken about. But very often with the lens of a passenger vehicle, and very often focusing almost exclusively on in-vehicle architecture. And this is what I'd like to tackle today, actually change that shift in a sense that I want to focus on software-defined vehicle trucks. Very, very different environment, very different sort of dynamics in the sense that you have a brutally difficult environment to deal with when you work in a truck environment. It's all about last mile, or it's all about the cost per mile. It's all about reducing downtime. It's all about increasing asset utilization. These are the key factors that make a truck actually interesting and valuable to the fleet operators. On the flip side, I said focusing and the discussion more towards new business models than the in-vehicle architecture. Really looking at how software-defined vehicle is changing the dynamics in terms of operating model, and what are the fundamental bottlenecks that needs to be overcome in order to embrace the full potential of software-defined vehicle. And for that purpose, we have three amazing panelists who will be on stage with me to discuss their perspective, their experience on this specific topic. We have Anna Cordes, please, Jan Martin, and Gandert, who will be joining me on stage right now. And I will just provide a short introduction in the meantime. So Anna Cordes, she's basically Managing Director at Bosch Mobility Platform and Solution, and heading global go-to-market as well. We have Jan Martin, who is the CEO of Webfleet, and Gandert, who is basically heading innovation at ZF for commercial vehicle solutions. Thank you. Thank you for being here, first of all. And maybe starting right in with you, Anna. Obviously, when we talk about software-defined vehicle, we keep talking about the separation of hardware and software development, which is a big challenge for the traditional industry in the first place, of course. But where is the biggest challenge? Where is the biggest shift? Is it on the vehicle architecture, or is it in the ecosystem around it?
Thank you, Frank. So let me give you my perspective. To answer your question directly, it's both. And starting with the vehicle architecture, and this is also how we approach it as Bosch. Of course, it's very, very important to decouple hardware and software. I mean, all of you know trucks are running for 15, 20 years. So the hardware has to support a very long life cycle. But software development cycles are very, very short. And with AI, we see an amplification of that. So how do we solve that as a company from a technology perspective? We are driving very actively the industry initiatives such as SCORE, who are enabling to decouple software and hardware in the vehicle. And we're one of the strongest promoters here. And as a company overall, you will hear our CTO talk about that constantly. Decoupling of hardware and software is the future, and we're consequently driving that. Now, looking at the larger ecosystem and what we want to discuss here today, I want to bring a different angle. If you look at the vehicle itself, that's one aspect. But in the trucking industry, in the fleet industry, it's not only about the vehicle. And let me be provocative here. In the automotive industry, we tend to speak too much about the vehicle and too little about the business problems. And if you look at a fleet operator, a logistics company, they will want to see business value. So think of the truck as one intelligent node in a larger ecosystem, and this is how we need to approach it as an industry to be successful.
Oh, that's right. Maybe, Gandert, from an innovation perspective, we've been talking about software-defined vehicle. We are increasingly talking about AI-defined vehicles. Where does AI come into that mix? What value does it bring to software-defined vehicles?
Yeah, for us, it's coming on different levels. Also, of course, when we are developing vehicles, we're using AI tools, generative AI, to come to better and faster or better solutions as well for our customers. Towards the vehicle itself, we are also developing solutions where we are embedding AI technologies to come to better solutions for our customers. But without a good architecture, there will be no software-defined vehicle. There will be no, without a software-defined vehicle, there will be no AI-defined commercial vehicles. So that's a very important chain. And the other comment I want to make here as well is it will not be revolutionary for us in the sector. It will be evolutionary. Also because, as Hannah is saying, the vehicle is there for 15, 20 years. So there is a certain delay in introducing those solutions. So I think it will be more evolutionary. That doesn't mean that it will not bring opportunities and creating new value for suppliers like us, but also for our OEMs, customers, and also our other customers, the fleets.
Thank you. And maybe Jan-Martin bringing a bit of a reality check from the fleet perspective, right? And the fleet operators being rather down-to-earth people. Where do you see the true value being delivered through these solutions to the fleet operators? Measurable return on investment, as we often talk about.
Yeah, indeed, that's a good question. Because both of you already said it's about using the truck rather than the truck itself, right? So those fleet operators, why do they use software tools like from Webfleet, fleet management solutions? They want to digitize their operations and they want to have tangible, measurable return on investment, like you say, on all those dimensions. And they do that already today without AI. So we have one customer, for example, Sanctuary Maintenance is active in the building management, and they saved 25% of fuel consumption just in 2 months, working with the data to improve day-to-day driving behavior. And we have plenty of examples like that. Reducing idling, reducing mileage, reducing accidents on the roads, reducing insurance costs. But now with AI, you can make that more precise and also unlock the insights easier for the fleets. And more importantly than that, you can increase the scale of doing that massively and more easily, affecting hundreds of smaller day-to-day operational decisions. And that's what makes a CFO happy next to the fleet manager. And then what's next? That is really that AI will turn these insights into actions. So telematics insights, they tell you what's going on. Analytics will tell you why it's happening, but AI has the potential to turn those insights into actions, to tell you what's the next best action, and also automate that in some cases.
Interesting. So from information to automation, right?
Exactly.
Actually, that's a good leeway to, Anna, you mentioned, we talked about the technology architecture being the enabling, structure, but this is not the end of the game, so to say. And with your hat more strategic and go-to-market, what does software-defined vehicle enables in terms of new business model, new operating model? Can you share some lights there?
Let me try. So, like you rightly said, the technology part of it is actually easier to solve. And again, I want to be provocative here with AI. I would even say the technology part is solved. What is the harder part is to realize the business models in the ecosystem part. What do I mean by that more concretely? Today, most of the industry still operates in silos. So we all optimize for our own software, we optimize for our own customers. If we really want to create additional business value in this industry, and don't forget, this is an industry at the fleet level that operates at very thin margins, 2–3%. So it's really about what can AI do and what can we, as OEMs, as suppliers, as fleet operators, as fleet management software providers do together to get the fleet company to a higher business return. And it's not easy, because what we need to do is enable not only the technology side, but also the business side, so that all of us participate, because ultimately we all want to earn money with that. And there I would say we're not there yet, but the potential with AI enabling that is huge.
That's true, and maybe again, that I see you're excited on this topic as well, right? Obviously, the development of digital platform, is also helping to work with partners, with startups, but other corporates, of course, as well. How is that working? How, from an innovation perspective, are you able to actually bring that together?
Yes, so in our innovation process, we don't want to call it a process anymore, but more innovation journey. We try to take also internal stakeholders with us on this special journey, because you go 2 steps forward and 1 step back. The same approach also we have, of course, with our external ecosystem, like startups. And we take them on a journey, also for a long-term relationship, because things are changing, and our world is also very complex. You have to imagine a passenger car is a box with 2 axles and 4 wheels, 1 motor, perhaps 2 motors. A heavy-duty vehicle, it's a multi-body dynamic object. You have a truck and semi-trailer, they are connected, they move against each other. You have 2 axles, 3 axles at the front, 3 axles, 2 axles at the rear. You have changing weight all the time. So there's a lot of complexity that we need to take into account. Which makes it very exciting, also because, as already referred to that point in your opening speech, is that it's all about this TCO, total cost of ownership. We need to bring down the owning a vehicle, using a vehicle. We need to maximize uptime, and only with those startups and with our ecosystem, our global ecosystem that we are using, we are able to achieve that and bring solutions to our customers.
Thank you. And I love what Anna was mentioning earlier, having different partners actually working together. Today the vehicle manufacturers, or the truck, is generating tremendous amount of data, right? The question I would have to you, Jan, Martin, is, to what extent, this data is actually valuable for the fleet operator, for the truck operators, and what is holding back? Also thinking, as a final question, to actually make it happen.
So I would say now, these days, access to the data is no longer an issue. Maybe that was the case 5 to 10 years ago, but now most of the fleet operators or truck companies, they have access to telematics data, especially in the logistics world. So it's kind of table stakes. What can still make the difference is the quality of the data, the richness, the scalability, the reliability, privacy, security. So that's where also Webfleet wants to make the difference. But more importantly than that, I think now, in the sense of using these vehicles, it's actually more about combining vehicle-centric data with other data sources, like fleet data, what are the other vehicles and drivers in your fleet, enterprise data coming from the ERP systems, external data like traffic and weather. And if you combine that, it becomes much more valuable. I'll give you one example, because if you, for instance, get in the truck, either the driver or the back office gets a warning that this particular truck needs to go for maintenance because of a DTC code or an error fault message. It's very valuable to know, for instance, what is the general maintenance schedule for that vehicle? What are available workshops that can do the service? What is the type of work to be done? What are alternative vehicles available to take over the job? What's the agreement that company has with the customer? What's the financial impact? All of that you need to know to have a really tangible impact on the end-to-end customer and operational process. And I think that's where the real value is. So it's shifting from access to vehicle data more to understanding the context. And then, of course, it gets more complex, but the job of our company is to make that simple again, to make it as easy as possible.
No, it's interesting. Obviously, it's not just about accessing the vehicle data, although there are some challenges associated to that as well, of course, but about aggregating the data from different sources.
Exactly.
Maybe just shifting on bottlenecks, just thinking about the time as well. Gandert,
pretty well on time, actually.
What do you see as critical bottlenecks and maybe some interesting use cases that you want to highlight as well?
Yeah, so we have access to kind of a very exciting new technologies like AI. And it's just, we need to have a mindset shift to apply it and to make fully use of it. One use case example is that before we thought we have to add an additional sensor like an NVH sensor at the wheel end to understand what's happening with the wheel nuts. But with access to data, with modeling the vehicle, with neural networks, we don't need extra sensors anymore. So we have several of those examples in our innovation team where AI is really eating hardware. We don't need additional hardware to measure. With the existing information, we can do already a lot with this new technology.
No more hardware, that sounds like a miracle.
And maybe final question to you, Anna. What is, if there was one bottleneck that you'd like to reduce and to overcome, what will it be?
I tend to agree with Gandert here. For me, the key bottleneck is a legacy mindset. So it's really about understanding that the recipes of the past don't work for the future. And what do I concretely mean? I mean that we have to stop working in silos and start really working together in an ecosystem and not just talking about it, but really enabling business models and partnerships that bring business value to the trucking industry.
I like that, and I think just to a final point, I think the industry is at a crossroad. In my personal and humble view, you have basically we are at a very similar stage as we were in another industry when we moved from mobile phone to smartphone. And the common factor is actually the platform ecosystem, the platform business model. And this is the opportunity that we need to seize, or we will have implications, unfortunately. On this note, thank you very much, Anna.
You're welcome.
Gandert and Jan Martin. It was a pleasure discussing with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.